Pleasure to have the head of the Republican Conference, I think that's what they call it, Elise, the number 3 Republican in the House. How are you?
Great to be with you, Mark.
What a day. I mean, I have to say, I've never been so furious in not in my life, but in my recent life. What do you make of this outrageous attack on our electoral system and President Trump?
Well, it's just another day, and it's not a coincidence that there is a sham indictment on President Trump the day after bombshell testimony from Hunter Biden's longtime business partner who testified that Joe Biden attended over 20 meetings related to the illegal, corrupt business dealings of Hunter Biden. So this is the day after, but this is what we've seen for the past few months, Mark, that when there is bombshell testimony that continues to expose the corruption of what I believe is the greatest political scandal in my lifetime, that is the Biden family corruption, then the DOJ gets weaponized against Joe Biden's top opponent, which is Donald Trump. So they're trying to suppress the will of the voters and meddle with the election using the Department of Justice to do so.
The Department of Justice is now utterly corrupt. I think a lot of people will agree with me now that our electoral system has been corrupted as a result of this action today. So let me ask you something. If a candidate's not allowed to challenge election results, if they're not allowed to speak out about election results, if the government disagrees with the legal advice they're getting from various lawyers, and those lawyers are going to be indicted on top of it, if they're going to dust off statutes that have never been used, ever, for this sort of thing, and one of them has to be about 100 years old, it's all lost if we don't win and take this thing back, because they're only going to get stronger and stronger and more intimidating, aren't they?
Well, it really speaks back to when President Trump ran on the drain the swamp mantra in 2016. He was so right, and I don't even necessarily think that the American people knew just how right he was. Now we know. We know that it is truly corrupt, and we need to get rid of the rot in these agencies. But you're exactly right, Mark. If we don't have the constitutional freedom of speech, if we're not able to, as candidates, elected officials, or everyday American citizens, speak out about election integrity, election security, we don't have a country. We don't have the United States of America as we know it. So it is incredibly important for people to wake up, and I think they are in so many ways. That's why you're seeing Biden's poll numbers plummet and Trump's numbers continue to go up. And unfortunately, as that happens, the Department of Justice becomes more and more weaponized and politicized as an arm of the Biden campaign.
And so are all these other agencies. I'm looking at this executive order Biden issued almost as soon as he stepped into the White House. It was written by Democrat Party operatives and radical operatives, weaponizing the entire federal government to turn out basically the Democrat Party base. And there have been efforts to get more and more information about this, blocked by radical left-wing judges like Beryl Howell, who has since taken senior status and so forth, FOIA requests for the information. It's like pulling teeth. We actually have federal resources going to organizations out in the states where they are registering, pushing for the registration of individuals who help make up the Democrat Party base. So this is really outrageous. Between that and the criminalization of politics for the Biden Justice Department, people are throwing up their hands and saying, what the hell? And I have to be honest with you, Elise, I hear Republicans saying no special counsel for Biden, and then I hear them saying, no impeachment inquiry yet. We're not ready. I'm sitting here thinking, well, when are we going to be ready? What's it going to take?
Well, Mark, I've been very forward-leaning, so I support impeachment inquiry. I am in conversations with all the members of the conference and also with Speaker McCarthy, who has said himself that he believes impeachment inquiry at the right time is it's a constitutional responsibility that Congress must undertake as part of our oversight. It's a tool laid out in the Constitution, and unlike the Democrats who weaponized impeachment, these are significant corruption scandals of anything we've seen in my lifetime that we're seeing with the Biden family. But we have a number of tools. Think about the oversight tools we had. If it were not for House Republicans, the American people would not know of the 20-plus LLCs. They would not know of the tens of millions of dollars flowing not just to Hunter Biden, but dozens of Biden family members. Tens of millions of those dollars flowed while Joe Biden was vice president. If it were not for House Republicans demanding those depositions, most recently of Hunter Biden's business partner, we would not have known, and the American people wouldn't have known that Joe Biden had lied, saying he had never spoken to his son about his business dealings. We know that's false, and the White House has been forced to change their statement on that, even though they think the American people, they show a fundamental lack of respect by saying, no, we didn't change our position. It's very explicit the White House had changed their position to cover their tracks. The other tool we have in Congress is the appropriation tools. So to go after each of these agencies when there are these politicized overreach, and we've just done that. For example, the Veterans Affairs Committee, we fully funded our veterans, but you know what we went after, Mark? We went after the office in VA that falsely politically attacked Republicans, claiming we were going to cut vets, when the reality is we voted to increase spending for veterans. And every Democrat this last week voted against increasing veterans benefits and increasing funding. So that's an example where we will take a scalpel and look at all these politicized agencies from top to bottom of the different departments.
Are we going to take a scalpel to the Attorney General's office? Are we going to take a scalpel to the FBI Director's office? And are we going to take a sledgehammer to their request for a new headquarters?
We're taking a sledgehammer request for the new headquarters for sure. And, I've been one of the most sort of forward-leaning when it comes to corruption at the highest levels of the FBI, going back to my questions of Director Comey, which really started the unraveling of the Russia hoax. And this is, years before the phony impeachment led by Adam Schiff, particularly with Chris Wray, not only the FBI's refusal to respond to congressional oversights, but holding them accountable. On local issues, I've been able to hold the FBI accountable and demand transparency, and on the national issues, we need to do that as well. So, yes, not just a scalpel, but a sledgehammer to some of these agencies that are, completely run amok, that have been weaponized, and there's a rot. And what's really sad, Mark, is we had witness testimony from whistleblowers within the FBI, our incredible law enforcement officials who are not the political appointees, but are coming forward saying that what is happening is not right. And what does the FBI do? They target them, and they silence them, and they threaten them. Again, that is un-American, and we need to make sure that we go after this in the appropriations process to make sure that we address this political malfeasance and return to the actual focus of the FBI, which is the rule of law, which is not what they're doing today.
Elise Stefanik, I'd like to hold you over the break, if we can, for another segment. Elise Stefanik, the number 3 Republican in leadership in the House of Representatives. We'll be right back. From New York, Representative, head of the conference, the Republicans in the House. I can tell you the American people, at least those of us who are conservative and Republican, are very angry tonight, Congresswoman. I mean, furious. We're not stupid. We know it was just done. We know that they keep it up. We know that they have a 2-track plan going on here where they're the Praetorian Guard for the Bidens. At the same time, they are an out-of-control Stalinist mob when it comes to Republicans, and especially Trump. What do you want to tell your fellow Americans tonight?
I want to tell my fellow Americans that we will hold the line as House Republicans, and we will continue to follow the facts and follow this all the way to the top. I believe that the American people are smart. They know that Joe Biden is, quote-unquote, the big guy, and I believe these tens of millions of dollars lead straight to Joe Biden. We have found the 20-plus illegal LLCs related to multiple Biden family members. We've uncovered tens of millions of dollars flowing into at least a dozen Biden family members, tens of millions of those dollars while Joe Biden was vice president. And not only are we going to expose that and bring ultimately transparency, Mark, for the American people, but we're also going to make sure that we root out the rot in these agencies. I'm incredibly upset. We are losing our country before our very eyes, and the last 24 hours is just the epitome of what we've seen happen for the past few years, starting when President Trump upset the apple cart of the establishment, surprised everyone, and won in 2016. This goes back and is very much tied to the illegal Russia hoax, You remember Democrats smearing and their Trump derangement syndrome that they've had on day one. But I want to point out some dates that are important for your listeners. It's not just the past 24 hours that we're seeing the indictment. We saw in June when Congress got documents of Biden corruption, we saw the indictment on Mar-a-Lago from the Department of Justice. In July, the same thing, when we found more, or when Hunter Biden got his sweetheart plea deal, you saw again Jack Smith, a far-left radical prosecutor, add more indictments for President Trump. These are not coincidences. The fact that it happens the day after bombshell Biden corruption news, it's the mainstream media working and colluding with these government agencies to try to cover up for the Biden family and for Joe Biden himself.
You're 100% correct. Do the Republicans as a group in the House of Representatives, are they almost to a man and woman united in this cause of getting to the bottom of this?
Yes, we're united in this cause to get to the bottom of this. And again, the oversight role is very important. It's constitutionally part of our responsibility as Congress. And I know it can be frustrating for the American people, but look at what we've uncovered. And we're going to uncover all of the facts. And we are going to make sure that all these questions are answered. And we've only done this in 8 months in the majority, Mark. We're going to continue doing that due diligence. And even though the FBI is required to turn over these documents, these witnesses under subpoena are required to show up, we're having to fight back. I mean, the DOJ threatened Devin Archer, the witness yesterday. They're threatening these whistleblowers on a day-to-day basis, and they refuse to turn over documents. We have to threaten them with contempt of Congress. So it is a back and forth every single day, but we are not going to be deterred. And I think I stand with all of my colleagues that they want the truth and they want accountability.
Mm-hmm. What do you make of the fact that lawyers who advised President Trump were indicted for giving an opinion that the government didn't agree with or the Democrat Party didn't agree with? They were indicted, including John Eastman.
Chilling.
What do you make of that?
It's chilling. It's fundamentally not who we are as a country. It's not according to our founding principles. And let's take a step back, Mark. You had Democrats for 4 years say that Donald Trump was an illegitimate president. You had mainstream Democrats, the vast majority of the Democrat Party, perpetrate the false, phony Russia hoax. You had Democrats in 2004, 2000, challenge electoral college votes of George W. Bush. So to now say that it's unacceptable for Republicans to talk about election security and election integrity and the importance of having safe and secure elections, it's fundamentally un-American and it's so hypocritical. That's why the American people, I believe, are going to elect President Trump next November, because they know we need to clean out the swamp.
But these states have to get their act together, particularly the Republican states and some of the swing states, with voter harvesting, early voting. All that has to be done if we're going to have a shot at this, no?
It does have to be done, and I'll tell you, from a blue state in New York, we came close to winning the gubernatorial race with a great candidate, Lee Zeldin, but look at what the Democrats are trying to do in New York. I know it's not a swing state at the presidential, but it's an example that when there's single-party Democrat rule, they're trying to cheat their way and redraw the congressional maps because they lost at the ballot box, so that now they want gerrymandered districts drawn by a Democrat legislature. They want to, trample over the decision of the courts. You're seeing trying to move towards universal mail-in ballots. You're seeing taxpayer-funded campaigns to try to prop up incumbents, Democrat incumbents. And that's what we're unfortunately seeing in these blue states. It is incredibly important that our state leaders stand up for election integrity and election security, that we clean the voter rolls to make sure they are actual legitimate legal votes. We need to have a chain of custody for any valid absentee ballot with signature verification. We need voter ID. These are common sense proposals that not just Republican voters agree with, but you talk to average Americans, they're registered Democrats, independents, they agree with it too because it's common sense.
I agree 100%, but the problem is in your state, the Democrat Party does not. It's an iron fist rule, and they're trying to take out a few of your Republican congressmen, aren't they?
They are, and the law is on our side. The New York Constitution is on our side. And remember, that case that was decided, it was a Democrat judge at the Court of Appeals who sided with the people of New York to have free and fair lines for free and fair elections and not have gerrymandered lines that were so egregiously drawn it would suppress the will of, New York voters. It wasn't a Republican judge. It was a Democrat judge at the highest level at the Court of Appeals. Now, what did Governor Kathy Hochul do, who in many ways is even worse than her corrupt criminal predecessor Andrew Cuomo, and that takes a lot for me to say that, is she's become just a tool of the far left. She put in a radical judge to try to toss these lines because they can't win at the ballot box.
I want to thank you, Elise Stefanik. You've been outstanding as the number 3 Republican in the House, and we'll have you back. We look forward to it.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, God bless. She happens to also be one of my wife's favorite congresspeople up there, too.